Let's do this. We are back. We got 2 people in the house. Who is all here? Also, can you hear me well? I'm in the process of setting up a studio and mics and all that stuff. So this is, I'm hoping this is I'm not hoping, this will be the last month where we're operating at this production quality. I want to up it a little bit just to show the growth of the channel and what we've done together. Who is all here? Who is all in the house? We are going to begin once we have, let's go high, 15 people in the chat. We'll go ahead and begin. Once we have 15 people in the chat, we'll go ahead and begin. For those of you who are new or just coming in, my name is Derek Ofadarongwa. Hey, Reginald, Wanne, Ndewo, Udo. Yeah, so for those of you who are new, my name is Derek Ofadarongwa. I am the host here at the Medicine Shell. I teach Igbo spirituality and ancestral cosmology. Ikenna, Wanne, Udo. Thank you. April, Ndewo. April, is there any way you can post this link to the Ogwun class group chat? I should have done that. Is there any way you can post this link to the Ogwun class group chat? Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so we have actually started our traditional medicine class, Ogwun 1. So those of you who are interested in learning traditional medicine and Debiahood, you signed up. We have a very active, very big class, super engaged, really interesting stuff going on. People are sending me videos of their all fall and all these things, and I don't know, man. It's amazing that it's come this. Wow, 10 already. Okay, let's go. I'm sad I missed the class. Ashley, yeah, another one's coming up in August. Another one's coming up in is it August? No, it won't be August. I think it's July. Sorry. And the next one is coming in July. So if you're still interested, it's open. We're doing it 4 times a year. Go to www.kedu.me to sign up. Or if you're a patron, just join the Azuno tier and you automatically get signed up. But anybody who's joining now, I advise them to just wait till July. Udo. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ashley. We look forward to seeing you there. Ndewo, the class is great. I'm loving it. Ifalomo, Udo. Hey, welcome. JD Bailey, Ndewo. Man, I've been seeing some of you guys' names for a long time now, and I just want to let you guys know I appreciate it. I've been seeing these names for a long time now. You guys have been... we have the most ride or die community on YouTube. The village is strong. The village is strong. All right, we are 3 people away from getting started. We the village. We the village. Yeah, that might be the next t-shirt. But yeah. Hey, Obi. Ndewo nwanne. Ndewo. Obi, kedu ka ide? If this is the same Obi is the only person who is signed up for both the traditional medicine class and Asusunigbo, the Igbo language class at the same time. So you are doing a full college experience with that kind of schedule. So yeah, power to you. Those of you who are interested in learning the Igbo language, we also teach at Kedu as well, www.kedu.me. Okay, we also teach at www.kedu.me, and we have hit 15 people. My daughter's going to be loud, y'all, so I hope that the sound isn't too much. Hold on. There you go, mama. Have you had a video on the afterlife? Okay, we've hit 15 people. Ikenna, let me begin by saying blessings, and then we'll go ahead and start, okay? We have hit 15 people. Kambido. Okike Keruwa. Ala wala. Ala nne mmadụ na nne mmụọ. Ala na-enye ndụ. Ụmụ gị abịala. Owo obiọma ka anyị ji na-ekele ọkpụ na iche. Ala na igwe. Mbụ na egede. Owo obiọma ka anyị ji ekele mmụọ eke, mmụọ orie, mmụọ afọ na mmụọ nkwọ. Owo obiọma ka anyị ji na-ekele nta n'imo. Owo obiọma ka anyị ji na-ekele mmadụ na mmụọ. ma nke na-esoro anyị na nke anyị na-eso n'ụwa ụmụ gị abịala. Okwu nke bụ okwu ga-enye mmadụ uche. Okwu nke bụ okwu na-enye akọ. Okwu nke bụ okwu ụmụ Chineke bịara iji amụta onye anyị bụ na onye anyị ga-abụ n'ụwa nke. Otu a ka ọ ga-adị na Eke, n'Orie, n'Afọ, na Nkwọ. Ise. All right, Chineke gọzie unu. Chineke gọzie unu. All right, so first question, Ikenna says, I want to know this, please. Have you had a video on the afterlife in Igbo cosmology? I have done a video on reincarnation. So go to the medicine shell. Siberia, Ise. Thank you so much for the donation, Siberia. Udo. Siberia is also studying, not to put your business out there, but she is studying with Dibia Uzochukwu in traditional medicine and Dibiahood. So you say awesome. Ikenna, go to the my channel and just search reincarnation. I have a video on Iloa. So that would be the video on the afterlife. But I could also make another one as well, because that one's very, very specifically on reincarnation, which is our people's idea of the afterlife. Siberia says you're good. All right, so bring the questions. The rules are this. I am here as long as you guys have questions. Once the questions stop, I'm out. So I'm seeing that nobody has questions. We have completely figured out ancestral cosmology and spirituality, and there's nothing I can add to where everybody is at now, which is good. Ademma. Okay. Ifalomo asks, can you discuss the different types of Edo na Nzu? Feminine, masculine. Oh boy. So Ifalomo, that's a very good question, and unfortunately I can't really go too far into that. Growing up, there was no, I didn't really see anybody talking about which one was masculine, which one was feminine. I have been seeing more recently, the cylinder-shaped Nzu. I don't think the gender of the Nzu, I don't think the energy gender or the energy signature, I don't think it's important. I don't think it's that important. But Nzu is water. Nzu is me. Nzu is water. So when you see Nzu, you see water. If you don't have Nzu, you can use water. Somebody had asked in the traditional medicine class about teaching about libations, which we'll be teaching about, of course, but Nzu does the same thing as a libation, either by pouring it on the ground in the powder form or drawing the lines, the 4 lines on the ground, 8 lines if you're a titled person on the ground. It functions the same. You can also pour your libation onto the lines of Nzu. But yeah, I can't talk too much about that whole thing. I don't think it's that important, and it's not something I experienced growing up. You just grab Nzu and do whatever. Nobody said, "Oh, this one is the dude one," and the you know what I mean. I didn't really see it play a big role at all, so I don't know. And maybe it's just something I haven't learned about, and when I do learn about it, I'll relay the info. So what is enlightenment in Igbo culture in final incarnation? Is it Dibia? No, Dibia does not mean enlightenment. Dibia does not mean enlightenment. A Dibia is a type of person. A Dibia can be enlightened. A Dibia cannot be enlightened. So when we talk about enlightenment, and I think we need to discuss this, this Odinala Ndibo is an African cosmology. And I think that one of the things that makes the African cosmologies different from, I'm going to say, the whole of Eurasia, because the Asian ones are like this too, unless maybe it's the way it's being presented to me and being presented in the West, is that I get the sense that a lot of Eurasian cosmologies have this concept of achieving a singular perfection, right? So it can be going to heaven, it can be achieving enlightenment, it can be not reincarnating, I can't remember the term for it, that kind of thing. So a lot of them have this idea of singular perfection, that you're moving towards or you're working towards this thing. Any African cosmological system you find, especially if it's true to its essence, is not about reaching a singular perfection. It is about reaching your truth, your specific truth. So some people's truth is to become enlightened. Some people's truth is not to become enlightened. So enlightenment is what it is, right? It's a higher state of wisdom, a higher state of actuality, a higher state of awareness. That's the best way to put it. A higher state of awareness. The concept of enlightenment is tied to anyanwu, the concept of anyanwu. It is tied to the concept of the chi. It is tied to the idea of the chi being, like, if you think about yourself as a solar system, your chi is the sun. Your chi is the sun, and all of the other elements that float around are different components of you. But that divine spark, that component of you, is something that you work towards, or you can work towards embodying, right? Work towards actualizing. And the way you do it is to acknowledge and walk in your true nature. Is to acknowledge and walk in your true nature. So there's a specific type of person who their true nature is the dibia. Becoming a dibia is a part of their enlightenment path. But you never really become a dibia. You're born a dibia. You understand? You can learn how to be a better dibia. You can learn how one tradition or another actualizes the concept of the dibia. But you are born a dibia. Even if you never heal a human being your entire life, a person who's a dibia is a dibia, period. So it's not enlightenment to become a dibia, right? If your destiny is not to become a dibia, you don't become enlightened because you've now become a dibia, right? It's not like a dibia is up here, normal person is up there. It's like, this is you, this is dibia. You're either this or that. It's parallel, right? So but some people who have kind of locked into this concept of actualizing enlightenment and representing their chi in the world, representing their ancestors in the world, are people who take titles. So Nze, Ozo, all of these people, when you hear them referred, they people will say that they are living ancestors, that an Nze is a living ancestor, and Ozo is a living ancestor. A Duru, which is my middle, or no, my Igbo name is Duru. A Duru is a living ancestor. So all of those concepts, right? Or those titles are people that have said, okay, I'm going to fully embody my chi, right? I'm going to fully embody my chi because I have achieved this concept of awele. Now, enlightenment, when I use the term enlightenment, if it's closely associated with a lot of the Eastern, whatchamacallits, ways of thinking, spiritual systems, cosmologies, and so forth. But enlightenment in the Igbo sense, in that concept, it goes beyond a mental enlightenment, like wisdom and all that stuff, right? We do have this concept known as awele. So awele explained is this. When our ancestors, and this is the explanation I typically use, so some of you have heard me say this before. When our ancestors see, or let me put it this way. When our ancestors see a seed, they understand that seed is a forest, right? That seed is a forest. That seed, you're looking, any seed, an apple seed, whatever seed you pick up, that thing is an entire forest, right? So in order for it to show you that it is a forest, you will put it in the ground. It will somehow find its way in the ground. It'll interact with rain, or let me put it this way. It'll interact with light, which is eke, interact with water, which is urie, interact with soil, which is afo, and then interact with air, which is nkwo. It will grow and grow and grow. A bird will perch there. It'll defecate. Another seed will drop, right? That seed will start growing. It will grow fruits. It'll bear fruits. Those fruit will drop. They'll start growing. And over a period of 500, 600 years, that seed becomes an entire forest, right? So I was born in a small Midwestern state known as Nebraska. And it was said that when the settlers, the white man, came to Nebraska, there were no trees. But now there are trees everywhere, there, because all of these different events happen, like animals passing and defecating out seeds from the East Coast and from the West Coast, and all of a sudden now they have trees. So in a period of 100 years, the whole place is now a forest. In a period of 100 years, 200 years, that seed has now shown you its full form, which is a forest. So if your destiny is to become a dibia, part of you achieving awele is you embodying that destiny. But there'll be a lot more to it, right? So the person, a baby is born, and we understand that baby is already a forest. That baby is already a dibia, right? The Lion King. We know that Simba is already a king. So part of the achieving the awele is to actualize all of those different components of what your original nature is. I don't know if you guys can hear me. My daughter is doing the most right now. Do. So that is the concept of enlightenment, or an idea of what enlightenment is. It's a new trend. Nzun doesn't have male or female. Yeah. So I didn't grow up with this idea of Nzu having male. Nzu is water, and water is female. All of it is female, right? But there are some new ideas that are popping up, and some people subscribe to them, some people don't. My introduction to the tradition was in the late 90s. Or no, I'm sorry, not late 90s, early 90s. And so that I don't any of the new stuff. I'm not. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about. All this, everybody has a spirit wife shit. I don't. But yeah, I think the Nzu having it, there's no. I think Nzu is always Orie. Orie is feminine. It's water. Can you talk about where you might be as far as four ages go? Seems like we're in a major transition. So, according to the concept of the four world ages, we are in Ugazi. Now, a lot of people are saying that we're in a transition, and the people are saying that for some reason, a lot of people are saying we're in a transition. We're going to Ugangu, but we just got out of Ugangu was the last one, so there's no way we're going. Ugangu is the age of light, right? The age of enlightenment. Let me put it that way. So, but I don't think we're going in that direction because that doesn't make any sense. I don't know if there's a fifth world age coming. I don't know if we're starting over. It's hard for me to say where we are going. I can only say where we're at. And that's really it. But yeah, it does feel like there's a transition. Something is moving. Something is in the works. Something is in the works. I understand what it is. I know what it is. I know that before I began my work, I was visited in a dream by a very stern old woman who I now understand to be Arobinago. I was visited by a stern, quiet old woman, and she prompted me to look at my poems. I looked at my poems, I woke up, and then I wanted to go on this journey that I'm on now. So, and many people have told me they've had similar dreams. So there's some type of feminine energy that is working on something. I don't know what it is. Something new is happening. A lot of people are waking up in a way that they weren't before. A lot of the structures of the world we're exiting, the world we came from, the world we were born into, they're not holding water anymore. They're not making sense anymore. And people are looking at a different direction in a very profound way. So yeah, something's going on. I can't diagnose it. Just because I don't know what it is. I just know that if everybody, let me not say everybody, but enough people are locked into the idea of truth, then whatever it is will make itself more evident in a bigger way. So, I now get that. One is born a Dibia. Udo, yes, you're born a Dibia. You understand? You're born a Dibia, absolutely. How does one finish reincarnation? Is it a person dies of old age? What do you mean by finish reincarnation? Is it a person who dies of old age after having children, living a satisfied life? So anybody who is buried reincarnates. Hold on. Yeah. Anybody who is buried reincarnates. Anybody who is buried reincarnates. Unless that person, no. Yeah, anybody who's buried reincarnates. So whether it's somebody who's lived a good life, somebody who's not lived a good life, if you are buried, you're coming back. That's what burying is. It's replanting the seed. Now, and it's interesting too, because when you study African ways of thought, a lot of the concepts that we carried through the different continents become a lot more obvious and clear. If you ask a lot of like, let's say European or American like anthropologists, they'll tell you, oh, it's to hide the decomposing smell, and then that's not what it is. It's replanting the seed, and then inviting it to come back into the world. That's what it is. But some people, because of their agun is stronger, right? Because your agun is stronger, you will reincarnate into more people. You will reincarnate into more people. So in the ancestral worldview, when you reincarnate, you can come into one as black as one person, but your agun, that part of you that reincarnates, right? I've heard it referred to as your soul, that your agun can actually come back into multiple children. So my sister, the woman she reincarnated from, was so great in her previous life that she came back in a lot of people. Yes. Yeah?
I don't need anything.
Okay. You need a bathroom?
Not right now.
Okay. So she came back as a lot of people. We have a dibia that we go to in my family anytime a child is born to see who they reincarnated as or who is returning. And so my son is my grandfather and my daughter is my grand aunt, who before my daughter was born, I actually told a story about her on this channel. So that was really interesting, is my grand aunt. And when the Dibia did the Alpha, he said that those two are going to be coming back a lot. And so, let me see if I actually answer the question. So I don't know how a person finishes. I don't know what you mean by finishes. Again, I think that's like a Eurasian thing. If that's what that's a real Eurasian kind of way of thinking. Like, oh, the world is suffering and I just want to stop reincarnating so I never have to come back to this. And I can be blissful forever. This is paradise. The world is paradise. Every single thing a human being needs is in this world. If it's not there, you can create it. This is paradise. This is as good as it gets, right? This is it, And so our ancestors are earth affirming. They're not earth rejecting. The idea of trying not to reincarnate is wild. The African worldview. The idea of trying not to come back and be a part of your loved ones and feel all these feelings that we feel, good or bad, that make the human experience matter and experience sky and nature and all these things. It's something that our ancestors are very affirming of. So there's no objective to like stop reincarnating. That's a very like Eurasian kind of way of thinking. You don't see that in Africa. Okay, explain the meaning of Ishiazun. Ishiazun, like a cap tail facing backwards. Oh, yeah. Okay, explain the meaning of Ishiazun, cap tail. I think, is it Opwagun? Opwagun, that's what I call it anyway. So, Reginald, are you talking about Opwagun, like the hat with the stripes? The hat with the stripes. I don't think there's too much meaning as to where the hat is, the thing is facing. I think that's just whatever you choose. I've seen a single person will, as they're talking, it's like the hat's moving around. Some communities might say the proper way we do it is to the left. Some communities will say the proper way we do it is to the right. But I think that's just now you get into like just cultural kind of fashion choice. If we're talking about the same hat. I don't think the way it's facing matters. What is the meaning? What does Igbo mean? It is a very debated concept. I have reason to believe it means something close to the people or the masses or the ancient farmers. If you can imagine all of those things meaning the same thing. Right? Because that's kind of how the Igbo language works. Bo is ancient, right? It's old, ancient, back then. But you also, anyways, I don't want to get into too much linguistics. But yeah, it's either the ancient people the original people or the ancient farmers or the masses. So, but again, I have reason to believe that all of them are linked. Does it really mean Ndimbo? Yes. So that's the ancient people, the original people, that kind of thing. Original people. It's funny because a lot of older Igbo people use the term Igbo to just say an African, right? Or just say African. Is this the Igbo thing or the Igbo thing? And Igbo just means African. But I think that, that's kind of faded. Maybe that's faded out. Maybe it's still going on. I don't know. But a lot of the elders would just say Igbo to just mean African or black or whatever. So, greetings, great teacher. Oh, thank you. My mom got Igbo in her DNA. She's been very industrious her whole life. I think that she might be Igbo blood. Do you think there's a connection? Yeah, if it's in the DNA, of course. If it's in DNA, of course. If you're from North America, the odds of you having Igbo DNA is extremely high. Is going to be extremely high. It would probably be rare if you didn't. But yeah, I see people walk around all the time, and okay, I know this is an Igbo person. They don't know, but I know. And sometimes they know, and like it's funny too. Like we like on Patreon, we have a group study, and we have my community is probably about 50-50 between like Black American and like maybe first generation immigrant. And when people turn on their cameras, everybody looks evil. Everybody turns on their cameras, so and it's as small as that sounds, it affirms my belief in the power of spirit, because something draws people to this, and then I see their face, and I was like, oh well, duh. Now, yeah, of course you are, that kind of thing, So yeah, if she's Igbo, I believe it, and I believe in the power of spirit. I think that some of the things that peoples do is ingrained beyond what we call DNA, right? It is ingrained beyond what we call DNA, and she probably takes on a lot of the characteristics you would associate with an Igbo woman. So, that's awesome. That's dope. So yeah, hear you clearly. Hear you. Okay, good. So purpose in African spirituality is about satisfying a longing. No. Purpose in Africa, that's no. No. Purpose in African spirituality has nothing to do with satisfying a longing. Okay? A seed is a forest. If that over the course of time, that seed will show you it's a forest. That seed does not have a longing to become a forest. I don't think seeds can long. It just is. It just is, right? So leave the idea of there's nothing like purpose in African spirituality, right? If I were to ask you what's purpose in science, that question doesn't make sense. There's nothing like purpose in African spirit. There's your purpose. And your purpose and my purpose have nothing to do with each other. Your purpose might have something to do with a longing, so on and so forth. Mine might not. You understand? Just like if you plant a seed, it's going to come out and give you apples. You plant another one, comes out and gives you oranges. There's no such a thing as what's the purpose of a tree. Is it to give oranges or apples? No, we don't do that. Odinala is the observation of nature, is nature. That's what we were talking about, is nature. And part of nature is your nature. So purpose in African belief or in the African worldview or the Igbo worldview is being yourself, right? And understanding that you are divinely created, and in that sense, in all actuality, you are divine, and you are the way you are for a reason, and it matters, right? And it's not just like, oh, my purpose is to become a dibia. My purpose is to become a welder. My purpose is to become an accountant, right? That's not what's going on. Purpose is a thing we call, okay, so it's related to what we call akaraka, right? Akaraka. Just like I was talking about with that seed being a forest, right? There, you are a seed of something that's going to pan out into space and time. You are a seed for something that's going to pan out into space and time. And it's not a profession. It's not a career. It's not a whatever. It's an actuality. Part of it is you're going to have a little patch of white hair on the top of your head. You're going to have X amount of kids. You might not have any kids. You're going to live in this place. Then you're going to live in that place. On the 15th of May, you're going to run into somebody. You're going to tell him, hey, how are you doing? And that's going to make that person feel very good. And you won't know, but it's what it's going to happen. That is your script. It's an akaraka, right? Just like, again, that seed, you plant it in there, there's already a script in there. There's already a script in there. That script is known as your akaraka, right? So actualizing that script, whether you choose to or not, it's going to already happen, right? Now, all that your job, or not your job, but one thing you can choose to do to make your time on earth better is to be conscious of that script, So all this, like, purpose is to become enlightened. Purpose is to stop reincarnating. Purpose is to go to heaven. All that shit is like Eurasian. It's Eurasian. It has nothing to do with us. We don't think that way. Some people's purpose is to be enlightened. Some people's purpose is to be ignorant as hell. Hey, mama. I'm trying to keep that. Hey. Okay, hold on, baby. All right, let's see here. Absolutely. What is your opinion of eating in dreams? I'm not a dream reader, so I can't tell you what things mean in dreams. I can tell you a few things that people who are more, like, aware, like, for example, my mother has, of course, grew up in the culture, and so she understands little things about dreams. And one of the things to understand is it's about how the event makes you feel, right? So let's say you see somebody and you feel a certain way. That's a very important part of the message. But I can't say anything about, like, oh, if you eat, that means this. If you eat, it doesn't mean that. Though I do know that a lot of people have very strong beliefs about whether or not you should eat in dreams. It's not something I really think about too much, so I'm not the best person to ask. So I'll do my... Bro, I dig the cinematic look of your video. It lends well to the yeah, so this lighting structure is actually... Anyways, let me do it first, and then you guys will see. So I'm glad that you like it. I'm actually really glad that you like it. Hola. Let me live. Oh, let me live. Okay. Hi. Okay. All right. Yeah, Robert, I appreciate it. Always a I appreciate it, man. Do they bury people for the more to come back and... Oh, thank you. So, burial. When our ancestors see an individual as a component of four parts: their chi, their eke, their agu, and their mo, right? These are four different things that come together and make you, right? So why the number 4 is very sacred. One of the reasons the number 4 is very sacred in Igbo cosmology: there are 4 market days, there are 4 elements that are used to create the earth. Then there are 4 parcels of a human being, right? Chi, eke, agu, mo. When you pass away, they all go their separate ways. The agu is the part that will now start the process of reincarnating. Your agu is the part that then starts the process of reincarnating. It's the part of you that's going to return back into the world after you pass away. Your agu is the part of you that is tied to the concept of your purpose. It is also the part of you that is on a mission from your chi. Your chi gives agu a mission. Agu's mind is also tied to the mind of your chi. So your agu is all-knowing, right? Your agu is your guide throughout the world. Your agu is what is going to give you your nature, and so forth. I have heard one Dibia refer to it as your soul. I tend to resist when people try to, like, make the connections and stuff. I like to study things as they are, like in isolation, but I don't think he's too far off the mark. I think that is pretty accurate. But that particular part of you is going to give you your nature. So if you were a Dibia, for example, in the past life, you will return as a Dibia. If you were an Nze in the past life, you will return as an Nze. Whether or not you are conscious of that's who you are is up to you. Whether or not you are conscious A lot of people are things and they walk around in the world and they are not conscious of what they are. Some of them will use drugs and alcohol to try to mask or hide that thing that they are. Some of them will spend their whole lives acting or trying to be something else. Some of them will spend their whole lives questioning who they are and if these things that are unique to them are valid and correct, right? And again, personally, I think that comes from that Eurasian way of thinking of like everybody's working towards one single way of being, and that single way of being is correct. Enlightenment is the correct one. This is the correct one, you know? Whereas the African way of the Igbo way of thinking is nature and world affirming. It's nature and world affirming, right? So if you are of a particular nature, you are supposed to be that way, right? You are supposed to be that way. Hey, all right. Oh man. Yes, lady. My my great grandmother from my father's side reincarnated as my daughter. He said, but she's a deity being worshipped in some places. I've never heard of anything like that. Oh, the same grandmother, the same great grandmother. Deity is a strong word, but if she was a very I think I understand what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. So what tends to happen is a person will come into the world and they are so great that they become a part of that family's spiritual practice, right? They are so great that they become a part of that family's spiritual practice. And so the even after you pass, okay, I spoke, I'm trying to fuck. All right, so even after you pass, the four, all right. Yes, no problem. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because
yes. So after you pass, like I said, you're made of 4 components: your chi, your eke, agon, and your mo. Even after you pass, your mo can be called upon. Your spirit can be called upon, right? And so people that are particularly great, you'll see that a shrine will be made for them, and we'll call upon their spirit to continue guiding us in real time, to continue being a part of what's going on in real time. But that tells me that your great grandmother was a very, very great and profound woman. Yes.
Prisoner or guard?
Prisoner or guard? Do guard. Okay. All right. So that means that this person was a very great person and their spirit is kept in the family. So if you are familiar, like at home, for example, if a lot of times when people have like a very, like in my area, when they have a great ancestor pass away, what they'll do is they'll commission Mao to be built in their name, and that Mao channels their spirit and walks through the world as them, and we honor them and that kind of thing. But deity, I don't know about the term deity. Just use the term that they use at home, and you'll come to find it doesn't mean deity, right? That kind of thing. So, but yeah, the great ancestors become a part of the pantheon of the spirits that we call on and that kind of thing. In my own family, my great grandmother has the same status that you're speaking of, the same status that you're speaking of. Very powerful woman, very successful woman. She was able to, the story was that she was able to fend off like warlords, a specific warlord who they believe was working with the British, but she was able to fend off a particular warlord from our area. Just because of who she was, how powerful she was, how strong her medicine was, and that kind of thing. And so she has the same status that you're speaking about at home, which is why, I'm positive it came from Christianity, but the level of sexism that is rampant in the church, I hope that when people are leaving the church and coming back to their tradition, they leave that shit over there. Because if you actually go and check your family histories, especially for, I'll leave that alone. If you go and check your family histories, you'll see that it was a whole different, there was a whole different thing going on. There's a whole different thing going on than what a lot of you guys are coming here and trying to describe. But there's this like rampant sexism that's kind of infected people. And I feel that at home, like in Nigeria, like the younger somebody are, the worse it is. So I think it's also like somehow external influence. I don't know how to describe it, but they think that's what being African is about. And that's not what it is, right? So, a lot of our families, you go back, you hear about these very great, very powerful women that, are seen in this certain way. And then in the modern time, people want to F it, or people want to be Andrew Tate. So, oh, yeah. Okay, her name is Omo Nwa Jenny of Asaba. Yeah. Omo, that's like Omo is like that's no joke. That's no joke. Omo is like a king, or not a king, anyways. I don't think there's an English word for it because it's not a queen. There's no English word for an Omo, but an Omo is the leader of all of the women, right? So traditionally, our people have two branches of government: the government of men, the government of women. And the head of the chief priestess of the government of women is the Omo. The chief priest of the government of men is the Obi, specifically in the Asaba, Anyoma area, is Obi and Omo, and that kind of thing. The Omo is in control of the markets. She's in control of commerce. And that kind of thing. The OB controls like the men's stuff, right? That kind of thing. So like any lawmaking, like the Congress of women will make the laws that govern women. Congress of men make the laws that govern the men. So not only was she an Omo, but she was probably a very great Omo in that sense. Honestly, that name looks really familiar. I feel like maybe I've read about her or something. So I'll Google her. Thank you for sharing, Alexander. Is there something historical that made Igbos very susceptible to conversion of Christianity? My father is Igbo, and they're very Catholic and reject spirituality hard. I don't think Igbo people are particularly more Christian than others, so it's the same thing that made everybody else is colonialism. Hey, mama. Is colonialism. So one of the things that is unique to colonialism in Igbo land is that Igbo land was colonized by the church more than it was by the government, right? So the British want a structure like let's say in the north, in Hausa culture, where you have a group of emirs that control these big kingdoms. Or maybe one guy that controls everything, like maybe the Oba of Benin. Hola, chill. Okay. Or like the Oba of Benin, right? So they want a situation where they can knock off a few leaders and then they control the whole thing. Or they can negotiate with a few leaders, which was more common than fighting. Negotiate with a few leaders and then control the whole thing. When they went to Igbo land, they looked around, they said, okay, there are two communities that seem to have a lot of influence. When their citizens walk around, they're very respected and nobody attacks them, nobody hurts them, people don't tax them on the road and that kind of thing. And the two communities that isolated were Arochukwu and Nri, or what we're calling Nri now. I think it had a different name at that time. So Arochukwu and Nri. So the first one they went to was Arochukwu, especially Arochukwu was also very commercially successful and rich and that kind of thing. So they said, okay, if we attack Arochukwu, then that's the capital of Igbos, and we'll knock them off and we'll take over the whole thing. And so they went to Arochukwu and they fought them. How long was that fight? They had so they fought Arochukwu for, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, they fought Arochukwu for a period of between 5 to 3 months. And Arochukwu is one town, right? And then they're like, and when Arochukwu falls and they take over Arochukwu, none of the neighboring villages even acknowledge British authority. right? So they thought it was a matter of like, oh, if I take over Paris, I've taken over France. So they knock off Arochukwu and nobody flinches around. Their surrounding neighbors are not bothered. And they write about it like the neighbors don't care. And so they go, okay, what about Nri? So they go back to Nri and they attack it. And then they have I think they use Ize as their title. They have the Ize of Nri come out and declare that he's a human being, right? Which nobody was ever in contention of whether he was a human being. And we know he's a human being. He is embodying a spirit, which is a spirit of the Ize of Nri, that kind of thing. And then the surrounding communities, nobody flinches. So what they realize is that every community is its own country as far as Igbo goes. And in order to take this place over, they would have to have between 1,000 to 2,000 or more similar fights to what they did with Arochukwu and Nri, which took months. And so they said, this is insane. It's not going to work, right? Because there's not like you. And then on top of that, even when you take over, it's run democratically. So you have to now go and argue with people, right? That kind of thing. So what they end up doing to take over Igbo land is they realized that Igbo people were very resistant to the British government and British government control, but they were very embracing of education and medicine and Western medicine, Western education, they're like, oh yeah, bring that, bring that, bring that. So what they did was they took over through the church, right? They, sent missionaries to communities. They spread out and they entrenched themselves very deeply in the church, with the different communities entrenched themselves very deeply. And then once they were well entrenched, what they would do is they would begin educating children, right? They would begin educating children, slaves, and poor people. And then people were like social outcasts, right? So outcasts, children, slaves, that kind of thing. But first, it was the children didn't even come first. It was the other three groups. Whoever in this population is disenfranchised by the status quo, we are going to give you our education. Then when the education was over, they would make those people in charge. They would put those people in control, right? So what ends up happening is there's this mad rush to get your kid to go to the Western schools so that they will be competitive in the coming world. A lot of people, like there was this Ekumeku resistance. Funny enough, Alexander, I think, said that her great-grandmother was an Almo. So in her region, there was this war that was fought by a union of masquerade societies called the Ekumeku. It was against the British. They would do like a guerrilla war against the British for 30 years. 30 years they were fighting the British, trying to get rid of them. But the Ekumeku people themselves that were fighting the British were still sending their kids to school. And it was something that really perplexed the British people when it was happening. But they were still sending, because they wanted their kids to be competitive in the coming world, right? They wanted to be competitive. And so that's how Christianity spreads. Now, Christianity, when that happens, you still have a situation where it's like maybe 30% are Christian and the rest are just like regular Igbo people. And the spreading, the official entrenchment of Christianity happens after the Biafra War. The generation that is emerging ran to Christianity very heavily, right? So growing up in my town in, let's say like in the early 90s, there was still all these things I'm talking about. It was just everywhere. It wasn't like hard to find. I still think it's not hard to find, and some of you guys like to be dramatic, but I'm gonna go ahead and assume what you guys are telling me is true. It wasn't hard to find. There was no stigma against it and that kind of thing. You'd always, and then like if there was like a Christian, it'd be like a kind of like, okay, there they go again with their thing, right? Like my uncle Joffrey, that kind of thing. He's like, okay, he's the Christian guy, there they go. Like if they come and try to say anything, nobody's gonna flinch. But in recent times, the Christians went from being a specific group within a community to the ones that are kind of calling the shots. I think what plays a big role in that is the fact that most of the people that really get locked into the church are women. And if you look at most villages, the men travel out and the women stay. And the men travel out with a lot of what I'm talking about, right? And their wives maybe aren't as into it. So then they teach their children and they don't really have normal men, normal men to see a different example from, and then they come out saying bullshit, right? So yeah, the popularity of the church is very recent. But according to a lot of the church leaders right now, it's declining. So people are now, they ran in one direction and they're seeing that, okay, this isn't really it. And they're coming back to this direction where I'm at. So that is the history of how the church spread. But again, I don't think like Igbo people are particularly Christian, like more than anybody else. But I do know that the British did not come to Igbo land like purely by force. They kind of snuck in through the church because of the social structure and the taste, what people of that time wanted. Whereas if you look at like in the north, they took over militarily purely. In Yoruba land, they took over militarily purely, and so forth. Benin, they took over militarily purely. Igbo land, it was just some communities got attacked, and that kind of thing. So which is also, let me go back to that. It's also why the independence movement in Nigeria starts from Igbo people. Because once the British start coming with like taxes and all these different things, they start going, yo, I thought you're just building churches, right? What do you mean I got to pay taxes to you? And then they start rebelling, and then the thing spreads. So, but them Nigerians will tell you it didn't. So I don't. This is the strongest spiritual pull and understanding that I've witnessed till this day. Yeah, it's powerful. He said, Ezioku Bundu. Hey, Ikenga Nation. Udo Dirigi. Ikenga Nation, can you please post the link to Umudum? Umudum is the Odinala cartoon that is being made by Ikenga Nation. Umudum, the Odinala cartoon. So they're taking folklores and different things and turning it into cartoons that anybody can watch on YouTube and hopefully Netflix. We're trying to get it on Netflix. So there's a Kickstarter. If you can post a link to that here, and if you guys can donate, that would be great. Is there a special kind of divination to know your career path in life? Just regular divination is fine. If you ask Afa what your career path should be, Afa can give you an answer. Yeah, Afa can give you an answer. Dabble around while your chi suits you. So I will say this though. If I were you, I would look for a career that already matches your nature. I hope the answer isn't too cliche, but that is the truth. I would look for a career that already matches your nature. My nature as a human being, I don't think I can be an employee. It's not going to work. And then I can't do like office politics. I can't, that's just not it's not going to happen. Eat? Yeah, and I can't be somewhere where there's a lot of things to my nature, and then this is what I'm passionate about, and I love, and I'm interested in, and I can do this. If y'all got questions that can last a month, I can run my mouth for a month about this. Namdi, can you go inside and see if you can get Ola something to eat, like a snack?
Okay.
Thank you. So I would find something that already speaks to your nature and already speaks to your passion. But yeah, you can ask Afa. You can ask Afa what advice. That's what Afa is an advisor. It's counsel. You can ask Afa advice on which direction you should go career wise. When you go to Afa, it's better to have A/B questions than to have like just general. The more specific you are with Afa, the better the answer, the more accurate your answer will be. What is the goal in Igbo spirituality? There is no goal in Igbo. What is the goal of science? What is the goal of science, right? I call it spirituality because it works best with the algorithm, but it's a science. It's the science of life. So there is no goal. Thank you. Here you go, lady. Where? You guys gotta be quiet. All right, so Namdi, fridge. Yeah.
What in the fridge?
So there is no goal.
Okay.
Go ahead. But a lot of it does point towards knowing and accepting yourself. Know thyself. Knowing and accepting yourself. But, you know, some people... No. Bachen the fridge.
It's all gone. There's nothing in there.
Bachen is a fridge.
Oh, close the fridge?
Yes. So there's no goal. That's not the point. Don't think about it like like a like it's not a basketball game, you know. It is the ancestors' way of seeing reality. Is the answer or describing reality, not seeing. I don't see her in dreams, I see her in real life. She takes the form of both my mother and grandmother. Yeah. Usually with long white hair, grandmother's build. Wow. April, thanks for sharing that. I see her too. What does it mean when a reading says that your chi is connected to Ogungun? Ogungun's, that's Dibia, Arobinago. That is, Robert, that is Dibia, Arobinago. Ogungun is a shrine that channels Omomo. Omomo is the feminine energy, the feminine power of the world. It is also a manifestation of Arubinagu and Allah. So yeah, connection to Ogungun. It could also specifically mean a Dibia connected to the shrine of Ogungun that works there, that is connected there, and that kind of thing. At the current moment, I think Ogungun is probably the most popular Arishi, the most popular shrine at home. And shrines are popular based on how well they work, right? Based on how well they work. If a shrine doesn't work, people stop visiting it. There's no compulsion to visit a shrine. The shrine does what it's the people who host the shrine will tell you what the shrine does, and then if they're lying or if it doesn't work, you just don't go there. Do you think different races have different afterlife processes the same way with different cultures? I don't think so. I think it's the same for everybody. Bro, she's a gift. Yes, she is. I feel that all things are one, essentially, but thank you for that. Essentially, but our understanding is what makes them unique. Absolutely, Odemma. Is there an equivalent of deja vu in Igbo cosmology? So, deja vu is deja vu everywhere, you know? I don't know the Igbo word for deja vu, but it's, you know, Odinala is describing real human experience. So if deja vu is in human experience, then it's a part of Odinala as well, right? But I just don't know the Igbo word for deja vu. My Igbo is like very intermediary Igbo. Have you seen Meghan and Harry in Nigeria? No, I haven't seen it. Oh no, my wife said something along the lines of the royal people, the royal family went to Nigeria, so I don't know. You're right, I can now connect the dots. I actually build shrines in her name, Asaba. Wow. Yeah, they've built shrines in her name, Asaba Kogi, Ben. Wow. Powerful. Did Igbo people kill twins? I'm still researching that. Because there's mixed stories, and I think one of the reasons there's mixed stories is because it's not something people are proud of. And typically when people approach history, they want to make themselves look and feel good. So things that don't make people look and feel good, there's always a big question mark over it, right? Like if you try to find the truth about the history of, like, let's say slavery in the US, things get real question marky, right? A lot of question marks. But World War II, the one where we went and we look at the heroes, oh, we'll give you every detail of that kind of thing. So did Igbo people kill twins? I do think that several communities engaged in the practice. My dad told me that what we would do in my place was that they didn't kill twins, but that twins were separated at birth. So if you were twins, one would live here, one would live over there, right? In a different town or in a different side of town, that kind of thing. And then their children were never allowed to marry or interact. That's what they were doing before the British came. But yeah, there was the idea that the twin a twin is the child of the earth, right? And so there was this idea of giving the earth back her children, which in some places got grisly. In some places, the twins would become what we now call Usu. In some places, the twins would be separated. and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think different places did it different. I think once you get closer to the Cross River region, that's when the twin killing thing becomes more common. And then if you move away from there, it becomes less and less common. So it existed, but I want to get more details on it before I speak on it. Because, and again, things that people don't feel good about in their history, it gets murky when you research it and ask questions. So, why did he skip the Shekmet question? I don't know who Shekmet is. But if you want to ask a question again, ask a question again. Baby girl is an ancestor affirming what you're saying. Yes, she is. He said, yes, she is. In the past life, my daughter was the one who used to read poems in our family, and she used to interpret dreams in our family. And when my brother's leg was broken, I thought it was her husband that was healing it. So when I told the story, I told the story of her husband healing my brother's leg. But my mom watched the video and corrected me and said that she didn't physically do it because she was blind at the time, but she was the one giving the husband instructions on how to heal my brother's broken leg. My brother broke his leg as an infant, and he was in America, and he was supposed to be in a wheelchair his whole life. And so they took him back home, and my grand uncle, who's a very cool guy, the exact way my mom tells the story was, and this is how he talks, like my whole family have a low, deep voice. He's like, when you're done, he said in Igbo, when you're done wasting your time, bring that child to me. And so he told my mom that, and my mom, because my mom was going to church and going to the hospital and that kind of thing. In America, they put a cast on my brother's leg that was so tight that his leg started turning purple. And my mom, no exaggeration, no lie, ripped through the cast with her hands and her teeth, because that's the type of gangsta my mom is. And so she ripped through it, and we stopped wasting our time with the Western hospital. We took him to the grand uncle. He buried my brother's leg. We found out that in his previous life, he died young, and he was angry at a woman, one of my aunts. He was angry at one of my aunts because she could have saved him and she didn't. So that was the story. And so we buried his leg for multiple days, and we, like, as a family, we'd we'd entertain him, we'd feed him. There was always somebody watching over him, but he was outside with his leg buried in the ground for several days. When everything was done, my aunt came and apologized to him and cooked for him and that kind of thing. And then they they dug him out of the ground. And within probably a week, I'm a little kid at the time. I don't know, maybe I'm 6 or 7 years old. I don't have a good gauge of time. He starts running. This is supposed to be somebody who's supposed to be paraplegic, right? He starts running. And now he's a very, very successful rap star who uses his leg a lot to perform and that kind of thing. So, what was I saying? Why was I getting into that story? Oh yeah, so my daughter is the one that did that in the previous life. So I need to talk to her uncle that he owes her a lot. So oh man. Hold on, wait. Hey guys, read Achebe. He answers this question pretty well. Okay. I want to be a 9-to-5 girly but remote. I want to be a 9-to-5 girly. Oh, power to you. You can do that. Can I contact the DB on Patreon to do alpha divination for me to know my career path in life? Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk about Olisa and its connection with the kernel game? When you say the kernel game, do you mean, I forgot the name, but like you take the seeds and you put it in the holes and that kind of thing? I don't know the connection between Olisa and the kernel game, but Olisa is Chukwu. Chukwu is Olisa. Olisa is one of the names of Chukwu, just based on just dialect. But I can't answer a question about the connection to the kernel game. If we're talking about the same game, like what they call Mancala now in the US, Mancala. So I don't know, I can't tell you the connection, but I know that particular game is about this idea of reincarnation, of Ilua, of coming back into the world, collecting, that kind of thing, coming back to the world, collect that kind of thing. So, or as the ancestor says, Wablahia, right? So, but I can't tell you the specific connection between Olisa, there's the idea of Olisa, Chukwu Abiyama, and that game. There's probably a song that goes with it, but I don't know the song that connects the two. So, if you can tell me what you know about that connection, I'd appreciate that. What do you think of the Udi pyramids? Yeah, so the Udi pyramids are shrines to Allah. They are what we refer to as Akwali Omomo. And so hopefully we go back to building them, because they weren't just in Udi, they were everywhere. I think the ones in Udi were photographed. And they were photographed and filmed and stuff by the British, who then destroyed them. But the that tradition was spread throughout Igbo land, and they are shrines. There are Akwali Omomo, shrines to Allah. For those at home, at home, I think that we need to really step up our level of craftsmanship when it comes to our traditional items and stuff. Because like if you look at a modern Akwali Omomo, it's like tiny and tucked to the corner, whereas this one was these big ass, step pyramids, right? So maybe I'll build it. Maybe I'll build some. Who knows? But I think we need to bring that back. I think we need to go back to doing that. So, but that's what they are. It's Akwali Omomo. And they come in pairs of twos. It said that Allah gives in twos. The earth gives in twos, in pairs of twos. Hence the twin thing, right? And it's not just Igbos that have this belief about twins. It's from everywhere from, I don't know if, let's say, I'll stop at Cameroon, but like from Nigeria into Ghana, they all have the same belief, but they have different ways of handling that belief, right? So this understanding that, okay, a twin is a gift from the earth, right? I think in Ghana, I can't do that. I think in Ghana, let me not speak on any of your culture, I don't want to misquote them, but yeah, they all have different ways of conceptualizing the idea of twins. I sent you an email about twins. Okay, I'll answer on the email. I have twins, boy and a girl. My daughter has two, born the same day. I have twins, a boy and a girl. My daughter has two daughters, born the same day too. Oh, wow. Wow, that's special. Thanks for sharing that, Robert. I appreciate that. When you were speaking about history, politics, colonialism, she went quiet. Yeah, that's how my audience is too. I don't think people like when I go into my history, politics stuff. So, but yeah, she went quiet now. When I did spirituality, somebody said that. Anyway, somebody has said something about it, and I'm noticing patterns. Mama, hey. She's really into this Elmo right now. Oh yeah, hit the like button. Yeah, let's hit that like button. What's going on? Let's hit the like button. Guys, it looks like we're all out of questions. We're all out of topic points. Let me see if there's any questions I missed. I'll give you guys that chance. Otherwise, I'm out. 9 to 5 girly. Yes, Mama. Okay, come here. Oh. But yeah, the twins. Those of you getting your messages retracted, you guys need to behave, man. I don't know what's going on. She's a gift. Thank you again, Robert. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I got every question, guys. What is your Kendrick/Drake take? Screwface has a lot to say. You know what's funny? So I opened the TikTok, and I just wanted to talk about random stuff on there, right? And so whatever comes to my mind, I'll bring it up. And I've been talking about this on TikTok lately. And so I don't know if I can get back into that pocket here because I've already said a lot about it. But it got into this big discussion about industry plants, right? The concept of an industry plant. And I was talking about how Drake is an industry plant. But yeah, I got a lot to say about the Kendrick Drake thing too. It's very entertaining, of course. Um, I was worried Kendrick wouldn't win because I felt that Euphoria was too cryptic. And I feel like with somebody like Drake, you have to really knock him out. If you leave the victory ambiguous, if you leave it like, oh, I think he won, that means Drake wins because he's going to have more people say he won. And over time, they'll just move the narrative in his direction. He's more tapped into narrative controlling structures that everybody likes to listen to. So yeah, I felt when Euphoria came out, I was like, I don't know if this is the one. This is not enough. And then when he dropped Meet the Grams, and what's that one freaky ass nigga, you a 69 God, what's that one, I can't remember, Not Like Us, when I was like, aha, that's what I was waiting for. So yeah, total knockout, probably the best battle I've ever seen. I'm a hip hop head, if you guys don't already know. Yes. Yeah, I'll get you some after this, okay? Yeah. Unless you want to get on a chair and see if you can reach it. You want to try that?
I can't reach it with the chair.
Okay, no problem. So of course you've tried, but yeah. So yeah, no, it was a knockout blow. And it's interesting too because this is what I've been talking about on TikTok. So right now there's a shift happening in the music industry. This concept of user-based streaming is not working. At this point in time, it is supposed to have surpassed CDs, cassettes, and what they did, vinyls in the past, and it hasn't matched up to that. So a lot of record companies are contracting, a lot of them are cutting staff, a lot of them are dropping out of the music business as a whole, and it's a big disaster. So right now, over the past 2 months, they've been gradually trying to roll out this concept of ad-based streaming, right? And they need a person who is going to be the Super Bowl of the ad-based streaming structure, meaning that there are going to be ads while you're playing music for everybody. Everybody's going to be hearing ads, that kind of thing. You listen to ads, you get to listen to more music. It's just going to be, if you want to stream, just like with YouTube. But there are going to be particular people, big marquee names, probably just Drake when it comes to rap, marquee names who they're going to put the big money ads on, because Drake, I don't want to get back into my TikTok rant, but Drake is the perfect Frieza version of what they have been trying to create for decades. This thing that they've been trying to create started with Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark. No, I'm sorry. No, it started with Vanilla Ice. They corrected me. It started with Vanilla Ice, right? They came out with Vanilla Ice, direct copy of MC Hammer. It gets rejected. They pull back and they try again with Marky Mark like a year later, right? Marky Mark gets rejected immediately, right? Both of these guys, they sell a lot of records. They know that this concoction they're trying to cook up will sell a lot of records. So they come out with Marky Mark. It doesn't work. They draw back. They come out with Eminem. It works, right? Marky Mark worked, Vanilla Ice worked, but they got rejected. Eminem worked, and they learned from their previous mistakes. They made sure that Eminem had the big cosign. They made sure that Eminem could be respected, that he wasn't a joke, right? Because he's very talented and that kind of thing, right? So they come with Eminem. Eminem works, but the issue is Eminem is a backpacker and Eminem is on drugs. So Eminem can't do the things they need Eminem to do. You can't put Eminem in the commercials you need to. You can't put Eminem in the commercials you need to put him in. Maybe this is the alarm to switch the subject. You can't put him in the commercials you need to put him in. He can't, as far as creating music, you can't write music for him. So if he's on a drug bender, if he's depressed, if he doesn't feel like it, you're not getting anything. You're putting a corporate structure around this esoteric idea of inspiration. He has to be inspired to write something, and you can't build a stockholder business corporate structure around that concept. So they draw back, right? Eminem doesn't cooperate. Eminem is a good idea, but he doesn't cooperate. In the end of the day, he's a hip hop head. It's not going to work. So they pull back and they come out with a new concoction called Drake, right? This concoction is the perfect cell of all of these different versions of self. You know Dragon Ball Z, you know what I'm saying, right? The perfect cell of all these things, right? He's detached from the culture enough that he's not going to be a backpacker about it, right? He's not going to, he can do whatever, right? He's malleable, and he's willing to be malleable because he's not as tied into this thing as a, a black American person would be, right? One. Two, he has all of the same traits as those other people that I described, but he's also, unlike Eminem, he's willing to let you write music for him if he doesn't feel like it, right? So you now have a shelf-stable product, which is Drake. Drake's music doesn't come out based off of how he feels. It comes based off of the schedule, right? It doesn't come off, oh, I want to do, okay, I don't feel like doing, okay, get Quentin in there to write that, get this person in to write that, da, da, da. Not that he doesn't write, but if you need something and he doesn't have something, you can create something and he's going to rock with it, right? He gets the cosign, which worked with Eminem, from Lil Wayne. It's the same thing, right? The alley-oop from Lil Wayne. Okay, I got the cosign, I'm in, that kind of thing. And so now we can start putting big marquee, big money on this person, and he can be that thing, right? He can do the Sprite ads, he can do the Nike ads, he can do the Apple ads. I can get these 10 million, 15 million, 40 million dollar ad campaigns that I can put on this person. I can't put it on a random black rapper because this guy might wake up someday and say, Pimp CPA Trill nigga, fuck that Polo Hill figure, right? He might wake up one day and say, from now on, we're not listening to Apple, or we're not, from now on, we don't use iPhones. He might go to jail. He might lash out in public. He might decide to go in a different direction. He might not feel like making music today. We have this shelf-stable thing that we can put the big money, reliable bets on, right? So as they're moving to this ad-based streaming structure, Drake becomes super important because that's the perfect guy. He's going to be your Super Bowl. We're going to have a situation where if Drake is playing, we can put the big money ads on him. And this YouTube functions the same way. If my channel were about technology, I would get more money per view than what I'm talking about now because the technology people pay higher and they like a stable product. They like a shelf-stable person. Me, I can say whatever. I can say, I might just wake up and be like, you know what? We're done with, right? I might say something about the government. I might say, you know what I mean? I'm unhinged, So I'm not shelf stable. So that kind of thing. So, but Drake, that's just shelf stable thing. Doesn't get involved in politics. Is just gonna produce the hit, do the rounds, and that kind of thing. So they've recently made a very big bet on Drake. I think this is where this beef is actually like what sparked it off. This new contract Drake is on is allegedly $400 million. Now that is a ridiculous amount of money to invest in a musician now that music isn't making money. Streams are not what they were advertised to be. There's just no money. The well is drying up and you put $400 million on a person. Well, they have a plan, right? So this is what I think the plan is. One, Drake is going to be the Drake is that stable thing. He's going to give you 4 to 5 hits every year. They are going to do this much, and they're going to be big ass numbers. He's going to be able to penetrate all markets, white, black, that kind of thing. So, okay, he's going to get those big money things. But there's a thing that Drake does where he goes to the hot young artist and he puts himself next to that person, and that person's essence makes him more relevant, right? That person's essence makes him more relevant, and then his exposure makes that person more famous, temporarily, but more famous, that kind of thing. I think they're going to have a situation where that 400 million is not just going to be recouped on Drake. It is going to be recouped on all the people Drake stands next to. So he's going to get a piece of your money if he stands next to you or if he does the song with you and that kind of thing. And I think this is just my theory. The last 1/4 of what I've been saying has been theory. The rest of that shit was numbers and facts. So my theory is that what you're seeing is a rejection of what was about to happen, because they were going to very literally use Drake to colonize the entire rap situation, right? I'm willing to believe that, okay, do you want your artist to play after the Drake song plays? Do you want your artist to be listed as, oh, similar artist to Drake? We're gonna get a piece of your money, right? Because again, they're moving to a new model, which is ad-based streaming, right? So I think all of this has been a rejection. And the reason I think that this has been like a revolt against using Drake to colonize the rest of them was because if you pay attention to a lot of the stuff Kendrick was saying, he is pulling apart the machine. He's pulling apart the machine, and he's trying to make it so that okay, like maybe somebody comes like, hey, give me your pizza. Oh, you want my pizza? All right, and then put your finger in it. All right, take the pizza. You just put your finger, now I can't eat it, that kind of thing. So I think that's what's been going on. That's what Kendrick was doing. He made sure to tell celebrities to stay away from him. He made sure to, which was huge, I think people overlooked that. He told celebrities to stay away from him. He brought up the essay stuff. He brought up the, hey, Atlanta artists. This is what he does. He goes to your town, he sucks up your energy, and then drops you, and then acts like it's his. Houston, he let them know the same thing. There's a mole in your camp. They got girls in the building next over that they're putting for sale. Just a whole bunch of different things, just trying to pull apart that the cogs of the machine, so that if you guys really want to run this machine, okay, now let's see it run. It's just like how Pusha T did when he was going to have that Adidas deal where his son was going to be like rolled out with the Adidas deal, and Pusha T goes, oh no, we're going to roll him out with the we're gonna roll him out with the diss track, and then that thing went apart. So I think this whole, because it's weird, I think it's strange that all these people get together and say, nah, we need to knock this guy out of the park. We got to get this guy out of here, right? And then we need to go and get the absolute best rapper that we know that's out right now, which is Kendrick, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that this was a coordinated rejection of a full colonization of everybody's streaming money. That's all I think it is. So I hope you guys appreciated that rant. I've been talking about this on TikTok, so if you if you guys want to hear that, then cool. But yeah, let's go. Maybe we'll go back on subject. Maybe we'll be here. I don't know, but y'all got me on a tangent. Screw streaming. Be a pirate. Use torrents. He said. Okay, I missed a lot. I'm gonna scroll all the way back. I saw Hebrew floating around. I don't know what's about to happen. Deja vu, twins, answered that. Why is it that a lot of spiritual practices ask you to deny yourself of physical pleasures? Really good question. Like when you ask to meditate and fast, does it interfere with spirituality and something? No. Okay, so I'm going to speak from the Igbo sense, right? Igbo, in Odinala, we understand that everything has what it does. Everything has what it does, right? So there's no such a thing as in Odinala we fast. That doesn't make sense. All these church people are going to come and start telling you something that sounds like it, but that doesn't make sense. But we understand what fasting does, right? So if I need that effect, I will tap into that practice. But there's no blanket recommendation for everybody. Everybody must fast. It is better to be this and it's better to be that. I understand what denying or staying away from material pleasure does. If I need that particular effect, I will do that. right? Fasting clears the spirit. When the spirit is cleared of clutter and noise, you are better able to hear directly from your chi. You are better able to hear directly from your chi. You're better able to feel directly from your chi. That type of thing, right? You're returning to you're coming closer. But that's not the goal, right? So maybe you need an answer for something. Fasting can give you that answer. But it's not that you're just supposed to just walk around, be locked in with your chi all the time. No, go live your life, that kind of thing, right? That kind of thing. So there is an understanding of what fasting does, and if you need it, you do it, right? If you don't need it, you don't do it. There's no, like, you don't get extra heaven points for fasting or extra heaven points for denying XYZ, right? So I understand, for example, now let's look at the science of the Ikenga. The Ikenga is the masculine energy, The Ikenga is powered by denial. The Ikenga is powered by denial. So, for example, now, the Ikenga is strongest when it's focused on one thing, when it moves in one direction, right? When it moves with one mind, one body, in one direction. But, Namdi, go see. So, but the thing is, as we are in the world, our attentions, we give 5% of our 10%, 20% of ourselves to these different little departments of existing, right? And so when we want to move in a specific direction, we're not moving with our full selves. With the Ikenga is not unlocked. But if I shut off this desire and that desire and that desire and that desire, suddenly it's stronger and it moves in a direction. Think about it like water, right? If there is a stream of water and you carve if you carve like 100 little, or let me put it this way, if you put 100 little pipes to some water, those pipes are going to send water in different directions. But if you have one pipe that all the water runs through, the concentrated force of that water can knock down a building. But the tiny little pipes won't be able to do that. So, Ndio Denala, we understand that if I want to knock down a building, I need all of my water moving down one pipe. So that's where denial comes from, like self-denial, fasting sometimes, just locking in. That ability to lock in is considered a masculine thing from our ancestors, right? So that kind of thing. So I'm putting all my water into one pot. It doesn't mean that a person should just exist that way, right? Because we also understand that nothing comes in the world as wholly good or wholly of a single utility. Everything has an up and a down, right? Every tree grows in two directions. It grows underground and we call that roots, and it grows above ground and we call that tree, right? So if I am trying to move in a singular direction, if I'm trying to gather all my masculine power and move in my kinetic energy, Ikenga, in a single direction, denial is important. If you look at worldwide, I'll talk about this Ikenga idea. Worldwide, the idea of the Ikenga, whatever term they use for it, is very much connected to the idea of denial and endurance, right? Denial and endurance, that type of thing. Denial and endurance, worldwide. It is connected to it worldwide, right? And so forth. So yeah, it's a lot of those spiritual practices have that because of what it does, right? In Igbo, we see it as an ingredient that can be thrown into the soup if the soup calls for it, right? There are times where I will do that particular thing. I'm about to do this thing. I need to lock in. No more this, no this, no that, no that, no that. Well before I start. And then when the kinetic energy is moving, when I'm waking up and feeling a specific way, then we go ahead and take on the big endeavor. So yeah. What is the Igbo worldview of twin flames? I don't know anything about twin flames, and I don't know anything about twin flames. I don't even know what that is. I've been asked a lot about it. I've tried to Google it. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it. So maybe you guys can explain twin flames to me, and I'll be like, oh, okay, this sounds like that. You know. But yeah, I don't get it. Voodoo, Santeria, hoodoo, voodoo have a deity or spirit known as Papa Legba, Loa, Castle Crossroads. Any thoughts? Does Odinala have anything on the crossroads? Yeah, crossroads is related to Ekwensu. So when two things are passing, Ekwensu assures that they pass correctly and they pass the way they're supposed to. So Ekwensu is related to the crossroads. Ekwensu, Ekwensu is there's this interview, Ozioma Odinala, which is a phenomenal movement and channel. So if you guys can find Ozioma Odinala, then go follow them. But they interviewed a guy who, funny enough, was from my village. So I was very proud to see that. And this elder, we're very my village is a very special place. I try not to brag, man, but like we didn't let it go, man. We're tapped in, so I'm very proud of that. But he was interviewing this elder from my village, and the elder was saying that was explaining the concept of Amadioha and Ekwensu, yeah, same thing, kind of same thing. So explaining the concept of Amadioha and Ekwensu, and he said that a police officer with a gun is Amadioha. Anything that regulates this concept, that regulates or makes sure that things move the way they're supposed to, is Ekwensu, Amadioha, that type of thing. So Papa Legba, sounds like he serves a similar role. But yeah, all that is Ekwensu. So Odemma. Is Igbo the same as original Hebrews? We are older than the Hebrews. Way, 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 way older than the Hebrews. Uh-oh. Look at you feeling, dude. I'm live, oh. Don't say nothing crazy.
Oh, I didn't know you.
Yeah. My wife is home. Oh, yeah, I'm coming.
Were you at work?
But yeah,
Were you at the store?
Please take them, because Oloma.
What?
Please take that. Oh, thank you. All right. So crossroads is Ekwensu. Yeah. So somebody already. Oh yeah, Ross already answered. Perfect. Igbo bu Igbo. Not. Yeah. I was trying to put this Hebrew shit in perspective. The oldest artifacts from Igbo land. I don't know why this keeps skirting people's heads. I don't know why people don't want this to enter. The oldest artifacts found in Igbo land are not just like one or two things. You know, you'll find like, oh, they found cave paintings, they found a rock, they found a pot. It is thousands and thousands and thousands of spears piled up on top of each other near the Nechuku shrine. In Uturu or Uguele. This is the oldest artifacts in Igbo land. They are 90,000 years old. The oldest thing you're finding from what we're calling Israel, right? The oldest thing you find from that land parcel is like 6,000 at best, like 3. So I'll be generous and say 6,000. 90,000 years ago, people were in Igbo land doing something very tied to the things I talk about at the shrine of Nechuku at Uguele. Okay. 6,000 years ago, maybe you find like a piece of a pot in Israel, right? Today, population of Israel between 7 to 13 million. Population of Igbos in the world, 45 million, rough estimate. 45 million, rough estimate. There is no way in hell people who are scientifically proven as a concrete, evidence-based fact, who are, let me do the math. Let's say it's 3,000 years. who are 30,000 whose artifact record is let me chill before I do the math wrong. I think 30,000 times, I'm not a math person, by the way, 30,000 times older? Am I doing the math wrong? 30,000 times older, right? Sometimes Africans, we like to insult ourselves. Oh, we're the Hebrews. Oh, we were the... No. No. Right? 90,000 years old versus 3,000. All of the events of the Bible take space in a span of 6 to 3,000 years ago, right? This is like a known thing at the Vatican itself. I'm not just saying this shit, right? Okay. There are several times more Igbo people than there are human beings that can be supported by the landmass of Israel, right? So we don't need to be the original Hebrews. We don't need to be the original. There's something older and bigger than than your favorite book. Okay? There's something older and bigger than your favorite book. The majority of human history happens and then the Bible happens. Right? The majority of human existence happens on the continent of Africa. The existence of the Hebrew people is a very recent thing, like that. Right? Right? That kind of thing. So, no, we're not the Hebrew. Igbo bu Igbo. Igbos are Igbos. You understand? Unfortunately, ignorance spreads really fast, and people who didn't know what they were saying ran with this, and now we're stuck with it. I'm always happy to answer the question because I think people need context on this thing, right? But it's like asking me if I come from Namdi, which I kind of do. He used to be my grandfather, so. But yeah, it's not how it works, you know? I wouldn't even say, ask me if I come from my neighbor's kid, not even Namdi, right? Yeah, let's just leave that alone. They're just characters in a book. The Hebrews, they're just characters in a book, right? It's just characters in a book. I don't even think they claim to be like the original people in their own book. You understand, right? And there's a real understanding of real history outside of like religion and dogma and that kind of thing, right? 90,000 years old, asking ourselves, are we Hebrews? All right, just the trickster part. Crossroads of death. Okay. Oh, wow. Very good question. So crossroads of death, this was so interesting because I've actually learned about this very recently. So you're asking what is like spirit, crossroads of death, that kind of thing. So I had an interview with Ugo Sirius. If you guys know who Ugo Sirius is, and he said that he had a revelation. He had an abia, right? That there is a spirit that guides the process of death. There's a portal of death as there is a portal of life. And that portal of death is known as, I think it was Nemo, right? Nemo. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. He said, okay. And then he made an image, a visual of what Nemo looked like. And then he looks up Nemo and he sees that people have the last name Nemo or that kind of thing. I think it was Nemo was the name. I now have a conversation with this author, Chigozie Obioma. I actually have the interview recorded. I have the interview recorded, and I'm trying to find the right time to post it, that kind of thing. But I have an interview with Chigozie Obioma. We had a conversation, and he was talking about in his own community that they have that this thing I'm describing is a masquerade, that she comes out as a masquerade, right? So as far as the crossroads of life and death, it is Nemo, right? That is the name, that is the Abara that is connected with that particular situation. So I'm glad that you specified that you don't mean just like the trickster aspect, though I don't think Ekwensu's not a trickster. I also do wonder what they mean by trickster sometimes. That shit sounds kind of like, what do you mean trickster? But Ekwensu's not a trickster, but Crossroads Ekwensu. But as far as like the portal of death, like that kind of thing, the name is Nemo. She might have different names in different communities, too. So thanks for clarifying that. That was a really good question. What in the Igbo is something I learned very recently. So in fact, it's like my learning of it is documented on this channel. So Igbo worldview explanation for a person perpetually having a lack of energy or passion, despite being healthy and I think this is a question for Adibia because there are many reasons for it. There are many differing reasons, and I cannot give an all-encompassing reason. But typically, if you are moving in the direction of your chi, one of the things you feel is energy. One of the things you feel is alertness and awakening, enlightening, but also physical energy. That is your ikenga, waking up, that kind of thing. And so if you're lacking that, you're lacking I can say that there might be a chance that you're not facing your spiritual sun, your spiritual sun, your chi. But there could be many reasons. So I feel like that's a question that you can ask a Debia and they'll give you. Just like in any other science, there's many reasons why energy would be or motivation would be lacking in a certain place. But things like energy, motivation are tied to the ikenga. The ikenga is the gift that your chi gives you in order for you to be and do what your chi brought you to be and do, which is yourself, your nature, your truth. So that's the first place to begin. Then there are certain rituals you can do to awaken your ikenga or kind of give it a kickstart. I don't want to share his business, so I apologize, but I won't say who, but I had a conversation with somebody who was having a hard time, like, I'll share it with you guys, hard time, like, finding work, and he was, like, dire straits, and so I kind of gave him this specific Ikenga ritual, that's, like, related to the sun that he can do, and he was able to... Soon after, he was able to book a 21 city tour with 21, or is it 21 or 20? Maybe 21 because on theme. 21 city tour with 21 Savage. It wasn't my brother, with 21 Savage. So, and I believe he attributes it to the ritual. So yeah, there's many ways to activate your Ikenga. I would speak to, or there are many reasons you can be lacking energy, and then I'm specifically speaking of the Ikenga, but it could be something else too. So, Odemma. Another note, Odinal, I have an explanation for high blood pressure. Not one that differs from just conventional science. We have medicines for high blood pressure. We have treatments for high blood pressure. I think Nigeria is Nigeria and Cameroon are the epicenters of high blood pressure because they are the origin points. They are believed to be the origin points of malaria. And high blood pressure is an adaptation to malaria because if your blood pressure, I think it's blood pressure and sickle cell, if those things are what they are, then you're less likely to get malaria. So I think over time, it's just like an evolutionary thing that the people that had it survived, but now they have all the issues that come with it. But we got medicines for that as far as Igbo spirituality goes. Okay, yeah. Ross says Mbe is the trickster. Ekwensu can be a trickster as far as warfare. Yeah, correct. Nkwo is life, very close to spirit. He said, yes, Nkwo is life. Nkwo is also the breath of life. Ah, no. Hey, Uluma, no, I need it open for the light. Okay, there you go. Took away the cinematic effect. Yeah, I'm thinking about this being kind of how I... anyways, I'll talk about it. You guys will see when I'll roll it out. Nkwo is present. Okay, Odemma. Mercury base becomes what he's around. Tailored practice. Okay, hold on. Bro, you're passionate show. You talk about this Drake shit? Yeah, no, man, Me and my brothers are very passionate about hip hop and rap and all that stuff. So we get into like we get into some serious ass conversations, man. Like, whoo, some serious ass conversations. Tailored practices. There are tailored practices for people born on different market days that work better for them. There are not tailored practices, but things work better for you if done on your market day. That's the belief. That things work better because spiritually your market is open, if that makes sense. So there's not like these people do this, that people do that. But the idea is that things work better for you based off of your day. So if you are Murie and you go to your altar on Uriya days, it's just a little bit more effective on that day, that kind of thing. Your spiritual market is open, is where they put it. Your that kind of thing. The universe is in your zone on that day. Is in the ball's in your court. So if you want to take your shot on that day, that kind of thing. But there are certain rituals that like you have to do it on this day, you have to do it on that day, but they're not tied to, oh, I was born Uriya day, so I have to do it that day. It's just the energy signature of that day is better for that specific thing, and what it represents and so forth. So like a lot of, common sense kind of, a lot of water-based rituals are going to have Uriya day situations. I know that like a lot of traditions you don't do on Eke day. There's a lot of things you don't do on Eke day. You try hard not to die on Eke day. Things like that. You try hard not to die on AK Day. Traditionally, when people, it was so interesting because like, so when I first started this channel, because I was making like $100 a month, I would take odd jobs here and there. One of the odd jobs I took, there was this older man from Umuahia, and we were just talking about traditions and things like that, and he didn't know what I did, so he was trying to like teach me from like a ground level, and that was cool. That was very. But one of the things that was interesting he told me was that people try not to die on AK Day. I started laughing, and he's like that. How would I get into this AK Day thing? Anyways, yeah, people try not to die on AK Day. That if somebody dies on AK Day, they'll wait the next day to announce that they've passed away, and that kind of thing. And so yeah, there are certain things that are not done on AK. I remember I wanted to pay my bride price for my wife's bride price on Eke Day. They say that no, they don't do that on Eke Day. Things like that. So different rituals can be done on different days based off what that day means and what is going on that day spiritually. But it doesn't mean that people of that day have a different spirituality, if that makes sense, or a different way of approaching spirit. Second part of the question on Bone Thugs, Crossroads lyrics, visual themes, forgetting spirituality and Crossroads. Yeah, no, I need to go back and listen to Bone a lot better. I need to go back and listen because I even remember when I was a kid, I was living in Nigeria when that song was big, and my dad sent it back on a VHS. And I remember it gave me an eerie ass feeling. And then when the part where Eazy-E shows up in heaven, I was like, whoa! And I just stopped watching. So yeah, no, that song gave me a very eerie feeling as a kid. But I need to go back and listen to it and see what's going on over there. So I can't speak too much on that song Crossroads, but I do not doubt that a lot was going on there because I know that the members are very aware of spirituality, cosmology, and things like that. I never knew Screw was your brother. You sound a lot like him. Yeah. So yeah, we sound like our dad. We sound like our father-in-law people. Ikenga is like tunnel vision. Ikenga is more than tunnel vision, but Ikenga has tunnel vision. Does that make sense? Ikenga has tunnel vision. So when your Ikenga is active, your vision narrows. Right? Maybe some of the women in this can vouch for me. When you're talking when a man is doing something and you're talking to him and you gotta like snap him out of it, right? Like there's like you'll be talking to them and maybe they're playing a video game and like you gotta snap them out of it, or something could be had. They just want. That's all. That is Ikenga. All of that is Ikenga, right? All of that is Ikenga. So if a person wants to channel their ikenga towards a specific direction, they may deny themselves of video games. They may deny themselves of the things that they enjoy, the things that they typically put their ikenga towards. And they may deny themselves of eating a certain way, right? And then all of it locks into a specific direction and you can attack that thing with your full self, right? Ikenga is also related to the, what do they call that? I don't know why the term's not coming to me. The zone, like in sports, what they call the zone, when you're locked in and you're just like, time is moving slower. You feel like you're in control of time. You feel like that kind of thing. It's the zone. That ikenga is tied to that, right? So if you need your ikenga, you do that. That's why a lot of boxers, you'll see a lot of warriors in ancient times. They're not going to have sex before they go to battle. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. Concepts of like semen retention, all that stuff. All of that is tied to channeling your ikenga, because one of the things the world tries to do, especially this kind of Western kind of world, is pull a little piece of that energy from you, right? So, oh, I need a little bit from this guy, and then this one needs a little piece. So you're channeling your energy in all these different directions, right? But when you can lock in, right? I was, again, on TikTok, funny enough, I was talking about, there's this guy that said, there's this young guy that said, if you see a guy with like his hair with no edge up, his hair is nappy, that guy is locked in. And then, I made a stitch and I was like, yeah, we call that the nappy lock-in, right? Because the thing is, when a man is locked into one thing, everything else falls to the wayside, right? Everything else falls to the wayside. And typically the feminine is the opposite, right? The feminine can keep all those things together while the man locks into that one thing, right? And so so when you see, it's funny too, because you hear all these little dumbass conversations about like high value man and all that stuff. If you see an actual value, whatever the fuck that is, if you see, he's not gonna have an edge up. It's rare that he's gonna have one, right? It's rare. He's probably gonna dress like shit. Because he's locked in. He's locked in. He's doing what men do. He's locked in, right? I can lock into doing my videos so intensely that I forget to shower, that I forget to eat. All of that is ikenga. All of that is ikenga. And while I'm doing it, I don't have an appetite, right? When the ikenga is active, you lose some of these other things. Your appetite goes away. Maybe your desire to do one habit or another, they all go away. And then when the spell is over, all of a sudden you're back to normal, which is fine. It's not a state you're supposed to live in forever, right? Or that level of it, you're supposed to live in forever, right? So there's a lot of ways of channeling that, a lot of ways of empowering that, of stoking that particular flame, and so forth. So Screw seems like he's the youngest. No. I got a younger brother than Screw, and he's like like it seems like he's like in Mortal Kombat where you unlock the secret character when you unlock Smoke. Yeah, so he also he raps, and he also does like music discussions and music reviews on his channel. And so yeah, I'll let you guys find him by yourselves. I don't know if he wants to be whatever, but his movement is moving. Like he's huge. He's huge. They're both huge. They're both very, very, very successful at what they're doing. And it wasn't like by cosign or anything like that. Like they independently built up what they were doing by themselves. Screw was first, of course. He was first. He's the one that showed us all what YouTube is all about and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, he was first. Ain't Screw like 32? Probably. I forgot how old he is. Yeah, maybe 32. Damn, is he that old? Can you explain the palm tree? Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. So palm tree, uncle. Very, very good question. The palm leaf, is it the palm frond? Do they call it a frond? I don't know what it is, but that, the palm tree leaf, that thing is very, very, very important in our ancestral spirituality. That particular, the palm tree leaf, right? The palm tree, branch. I don't know what to call it. The branch. Yeah, palm tree branch is a symbol of Anyang. Anyang. It is a symbol of a divine messenger. It is one of the many manifestations of the concept of Abia, of divine wisdom, a wisdom that doesn't belong to you, but it comes from above, it comes from outside of yourself, it comes from Chuku Okike Abia Ama, Abiama, right? Abia. It is divine wisdom. It is Chuku saying, go do this thing, go say this thing, go be this thing, or look over here, or this is what that means, right? That divine wisdom, right? So the palm is a symbol of that. The feather is a symbol of that. Look at the two shapes of the two, same shape. Now, what it is, now what the palm, the feather, uche, abia, is all representing is this concept known as ose, ose, right? Ose. Ose is a wave or an impulse, a wave or an impulse, right? So in Afa, Uche, all of these concepts I'm talking about, there's the word, the Afa word for all of them is Ose, right? And it is a wave, it is an impulse of sentience, of wisdom, of life. And Chuku is the Osebuluwa, the Osebuluwa. It is the energy and the wave that carries the universe. Chuku Abiama, Olisa, Osebuluwa is that's very much what it is Osebuluwa. The wave, the energy, the impulse, the life, the pulse, the wisdom, the sentience that carries the universe, that animates the universe, that carries the universe, right? So all of that is represented by the palm frond. In traditionally, if a person is walking, like pre-colonial times, if a person is walking on a road holding a palm frond out front, they used to have like road taxes, right? So if you're coming to my community, you're entering my road, you get taxed. You go to the next community, you get taxed, unless you are carrying a palm frond, right? If you walk into a community with a palm frond, you are a divine messenger. You are a divine, it is a symbol of it is how you signify that you are a divine messenger. You have a message from something, from the spirit, right? You have a message from spirit to a person. Now, traditionally, a woman's shrine, she will take a palm frond, like let's say when she's married, a married woman's shrine. A married woman's shrine, she will take a palm frond from her birth home, and she will bring that into her new home. She will bring that into her new home, and she will use that as a part of her shrine. Some places they'll use a branch from her tree of life. The tree of life is a tree that is planted when you're born. They take the afterbirth and the umbilical cord, they put a seed in there, and they bury it. And then the tree that comes from there is your tree of life. And your tree of life is used to make medicine for you. It's used to do specific rituals for you. And then, of course, in the case of marriage, you take a piece of it and go to your new home with it. So that is the significance of the palm. But if you look at the palm, the shape of the palm, like the shape of the palm branch and the shape of a feather, they are both representations of Ose, which is a spark of divinity, a spark of divine sentience, right? Ademma. Screw's the one who broke his leg in the story. Yes, Screw's the one that broke his leg in the story I was telling. Yep. He fell from a high seat. And my parents are immigrants. So there's a lot of things that happened when we were younger and they just didn't know. But man, we could have sued the shit out of that company that made that high seat, but they didn't know that was an option. You know, that kind of thing. And the hospital that almost broke his leg, or that almost, with that cast. Origin of twin flame actually came from a play in ancient Greece. Hey, Ross Jones, man, you are a Bibia, a scholar, and a parcel of divine wisdom. So yeah, I didn't know that the twin flame, I don't know too much about it, stems from the concept that a spirit splits into two separate beings upon conception. who will ultimately mirror one another through life. Okay, so this is not a twin flame, right? Because one thing that happens is people will try to like, what is this in my current understanding? And then you say something, and then they'll inject a bunch of like like the Trojan horse, right? You open the door, yeah, this is the twin flame. Then they whole bunch of other bullshit. So I don't know because I saw a lot of funny stuff when I was online looking at twin flames. But in our tradition, you are made of four parts. Chi, Eke, Agun, Mo. Your Agun is the part of you that reincarnates. Your Agun can reincarnate into multiple children. And these people are called your Indiotu. Your Indiotu. Right? So at home, in the Igbo tradition, your Indiotu, you and that person reincarnated from the same person's essence, their soul, their Agun, their divine mind, right? So you and that person reincarnated from the same person. And because the two of you reincarnated from the same person, you now have characteristics and behaviors that mirror each other. So my brother's son and Namdi both came from my grandfather, right? They have the exact same spirit, the exact same demeanor, the exact same way of conducting themselves, right? They're babies that behave like old men. As in, my brother's son is an infant, right? I have the same Onyowa as my cousin Emeka. I'm trying to think of anybody else. My cousin Emeka, and then one of my other cousins who I keep forgetting his name. But when we were younger, me and Emeka had a very similar nature, right? So we would always play games that were high in like imagination, right? Like high in imagination. We didn't play like sports too much, like football and things like that. So, but we would be like, we had like a grasshopper fighting league. We made our own masquerade, and we were like, we had our own masquerade company, I guess. We had like a league where it was like there's a game we used to play, Ukushi Banjala, where it's like you're playing soccer with bottle caps. Those of you from home, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this is real village shit. So we play soccer with bottle caps. We made a whole league, with like rankings and like our idea of rankings, that kind of thing. Like, this person's the champion. It was more like WWF, where like, okay, I'm the champion, whoever beats me is the champion, than like 4, that kind of thing. We would make cities out of like sand and things like that. So we had this very similar nature, and we would always play kind of away from everyone else, right? And that kind of thing. When he'd get sick, I'd get sick, that kind of thing. So we have the concept of two people sharing the same onyowa, right? The same onyowa. My brother, my youngest brother, the one I said that you guys haven't unlocked yet, my youngest brother came back, or is in the previous life, was my uncle. Him and like 3 or 4 of my cousins have the same onyowa. All of them have like a scar on their head somewhere. All of them have some kind of scar somewhere on their head. All of them were very stubborn growing up, got in trouble a lot, didn't want to listen to anybody. That kind of thing. So all of them were very hard-headed growing up. And my uncle in the previous life, or his previous life, was very like, he played by the book, he did the right thing, but he died young. And so my mom says that she thinks that he decided to come back in the world and do it different. Like, okay, I'm wilding out, you know, I'm wilding out. Life is short. So that was very much the ethos of the kids that reincarnated from the same Onyowa. So yeah, we have something like that. But I think that like what I kept seeing online about twin flame was like relationship oriented, right? And I don't know, it kind of looked like all them like spiritual guys trying to like trick zodiac girls into out of their pants. It looked like a bunch of spiritual guys trying to trick zodiac girls out of their pants. That's why I was like, I don't know what you mean by twin flames. But in the Igbo tradition, we have the concept of two people sharing the same onyowa. The onyowa, your agon reincarnates within the same family, and a couple of traditions that go with it. Like, I can't go to any of the funerals of the people who I share the same onyowa as. I can't go to a ceremony where they're being receiving like a chieftaincy title or like becoming a dibia or anything like that, any traditional title, um, and just things like that. And then like in my past life self, I can't look at an image, an effigy, or a picture of that person, and I can't know where he's buried or visit his gravesite. So just things like that. Yeah, happy for Scrooge growing. Yeah, yeah, 100. Yeah, absolutely. 300,000 years ago, Africans were in Elephant Island, Nubia. I believe it. Igbo mythology is written on pyramid walls. Igbo mythology is written in nature. Is written in nature. So both the people of Kemet and the people in my culture are what we're talking about is nature. We're talking about real life. We're talking about nature. So we're going to say a lot of the same things. And we got a real Bone Thugs fan in here. Yeah, no, I need to sit back and listen to Bone. I go back and listen to their. I didn't pay them enough attention coming up, but like I always liked their music. I always liked their music, but I never went and like sat down and really listened to it. All the stories you narrate about Igbo, but yeah, no, organic African paradigm, absolutely, yeah, I believe that these are written on, absolutely, absolutely. I see way too many parallels, even in the Algon class, the traditional medicine class. I've found myself bringing up Kemet at least twice now to illustrate an idea, because the same thing was being done over there, the same thing was being said over there, that kind of thing. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Tricksters or lies. That's an Abrahamic thing. Yeah. So I always wonder why everybody has a trickster except Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Everybody else has a trickster except those guys. So I don't know what they mean by trickster, right? I don't know, especially when it comes to like South American, North American, like indigenous people. They always have a trickster. What does that mean? What do you mean by trickster, right? So I don't be careful with these people and their terms. Tricksters are playful. Many cultures around the world have a playful spirit. Yeah, but what do they mean by trickster? Okay. Drizzle. So if my father has Yoruba blood and my mother has Igbo blood, which one am I most? You're you. You're you. In the Igbo tradition, if your father is Igbo, you're Igbo. Like, if either parent is Igbo, you're Igbo, but you're like, the way the culture delineates like belonging, you belong to your father's thing. So if your father is Japanese, you're Japanese. Like if you die in Igbo land, they'll go bury you in Japan. They'll bury your ass in Japan, you know? Like me now, my mom is from one village, my dad's from another. If I drop dead at my mother's village, they'll carry my ass up and bury me in my father's village, that kind of thing. So, yeah. But, whichever one, I mean, you're both. You're both. If you're Igbo, it's said that you're your father. Okay, Ross. Damn, bro, I should just, Ross. Uchechi. Igbo spirituality from the Caribbeans, a mixture of different tribes, yes, backgrounds and spiritualities, yes. My research, all of African tribes would honor both bloodlines, deities, and gods, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and it's not that, like, while you belong to your father's place, it's not that you reject your mother's place. So when you do a lot of rituals, you have to go back to your mother's place for one thing or another, or you have to acknowledge them, like, just different things. So where your mother's from is known as your Umerenne, your Umerenne. Your Umerenne has a very special place in Igbo culture and in Igbo cosmology, because at your Umerenne, you have total and complete immunity. So you can't work, like nobody's going to make you work. People can't assault you. People can't insult you. You are a pampered dignitary there, right? I don't know how to explain it. So if there's ever a crisis, people will run to places. If it's an extreme, severe crisis, they can run to like a shrine for safety, because people don't attack shrines except these fucking Christians. But you can run to a shrine for safety, or you can run to your maternal place, and nobody can kill you or hurt you or harass you in your maternal home. And so, just because of the way Allah works. So your umerenne, you still have a belonging there, but it's different from the belonging to your father's place. Most people use their umerenne as like a refuge or like a vacation place. So I had one uncle who, funny enough, he became a dibia, but I had one uncle who, he had what we call arago, like the madness of ago, but we didn't know that until he finally becomes a dibia, and then just his entire spirit just calms down, and he just becomes normal, right? So he used to just constantly fight people, and he would like anybody who'd try to help him, he would accuse that person of like trying to destroy him and use juju and all that stuff, and his he couldn't anything financial, it was falling apart, anything career wise was falling apart, his family was extremely poor, and so he started selling yams one year, which is like a woman's job. He started selling yams, like fried yams, outside of like our house one year, which it was very strange. Everybody's like, "What the hell?" But okay, sure. And he was just talking crazy, talking crazy, talking crazy. And so he started talking crazy about my mom. And I remember my sister overhears him and goes over there, and like the wife gets in my sister's face, and they're going back and forth. My sister slaps his wife, and my dad just sees this and goes, my dad's action packed, right? So my dad just sees this fight happening and goes and gets a machete and starts cutting up the knife or the yam. But American people, you're probably, I don't know if this is gonna like traumatize you or whatever, but this shit's normal. So he starts like in my village, not normal everywhere else. So he starts like cutting up the yam table, and so they run away and they go to their umerenne, they go to the maternal home of the man, and they have like they can't nobody can fight them there. And in order for them to come back, there has to be like a peace. Everybody has to be at peace and have a settlement, that kind of thing. But that was one of the most recent run to the umerennes that I saw. And it's funny to me, anyways. You can probably like, what the hell is he talking about? But that shit was funny as hell. But yeah, bone dogs from my hometown. Dope. Cleveland. Damn, you guys have been rocking. It's true. Afro descendants of the American are mixed with West Central African groups. Their spiritual systems are mixed with a different. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Why is it that you can't see the image of the previous person you are? Because you are still linked to them and they are dead. So I don't know how to explain it, but it triggers the concept of death in your spirit, if that makes sense, right? It triggers death in your spirit. It's almost like, when you're having a dream and then certain things will happen in that dream and that thing will wake you up. Like sometimes you'll be aware of it. Like if I turn in this direction, I'll wake up, or if I touch this thing, or if I come too close to this thing, I'll wake up. It's the same thing on a spiritual level. It doesn't mean that you'll drop dead, but the process it begins. So you avoid it, right? You try to avoid seeing it, and interacting with that and so forth. So I didn't know. My family back. It's like if you think about Uchechi, if you think about the story of Odachi Nebere, where Eke opens the door and there's an explosion. Well, a lot of people will tell you that what was inside of the door was herself, that she saw herself, right? And that's why one of her names is Atsumatsu. Atsumatsu, the Atsu that knows Atsu, right? One of her names is Atsu. So she opens the door and sees herself and then blows up, right? There's an explosion. There's that kind of thing. So that's what is simulated in that concept of seeing your previous life self. So or that's how that's explained. Caribbean, cool. Trickster was originally stated by colonizer. Yeah, it feels colonizing to me. Truly my mother's son. I'm a healer, like women in my family. Yeah, so one of the things about the Debia gift, Robert, is that It is said that if you have the gift on your maternal side, it's all of the children will have the gift, right? But if it's on your paternal side, just some of you will have it. Just some of you will have it. Because the spirit of medicine, Ogun, also known as Arobinagun, also known as Ne Agun, is from the feminine side, is the feminine head of Agun that has the gift of healing, or the Dibia gift. Twin flame is BS, LOL. Yeah. Like I said, man, it sounded like a bunch of, them long hair. There was this whole era where like spiritual guys were trying to trick zodiac girls out of their pants, and I feel like that was like one of their one of their secret weapons. Like, oh, I think you're my twin flame. Really? Yeah, I think you're my twin flame. And then from there, you know. Is Queso the Big Dipper the last Pokemon? Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. The last Pokemon. I didn't say Pokemon. I said Smoke from Mortal Kombat, man. Put some respect on his name. He's the unlockable character, right? Yeah, my other brother is Queso the Big Dipper. Yeah. My other brother is Queso the Big Dipper. Yeah, you got him. So, would you say Eke herself as the universe, would be started? Would you say Eke? Okay, would you say Eke saw herself as the universe, so started the process of why? Yeah, that's what it is. All for Owea, she saw herself. Yeah, so as the universe, and then from there begins the process of that universal manifestation, right? Odemma. Good ass question. So according to science, you can't make a face you've never seen before. So either those people are from your subconscious memory or another time, another dimension. I saw my great, hold on, great grandfather in a dream the last time when I went home. And while the face was familiar, I had never seen that face before in my life. I had never seen, and it was a well-developed, full person looking dead at me, stern as hell, right? If you know what he did in his time, you'll know he'd be stern. Stern, just stern look, right? When they say in the Bible, how they describe that Jesus was going to come back, how he looks, bronze skin, fiery eyes. That's exactly what I was looking at. But it was him. It was him. The closest he looked like was my dad mixed with my distant uncle. Distant uncle who was like a local government chairman. He was in government. He looked like if their faces merged, right? But it was different. It was different. And I remember I just saw him. He didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. We looked at each other, and I woke up and went and got married. Yeah. I just don't know why I don't see familiar faces more often. I see strangers 90% of the time. Yeah. As you're walking around, maybe you're collecting faces as you're looking at people and that kind of thing. You guys look like you're all out of questions. Except All Smiles B is out here cooking. A couple of times, not myself, in dreams. I don't. I can't remember the last. No. Okay, I remember the last face I saw in a dream. Again, it didn't look like somebody I knew. It did not look like anything anybody I've ever seen before. At all. But I was instructed in the dream to not share the dream, so I just know that the face was unfamiliar. It's just like you always see your nose, but your brain ignores it. Yeah. Human beings have a specific part of their brain that focuses on human faces. Yes. All right, guys, it looks like we're all out of questions. I'm going to give you all a countdown from 5. No, I'm not going to count backwards because I'm going to do it Igbo. Otu, Abuo, Ato, Ano, Ise. All right, we are 100% out of question. I think we're out of questions. So, guys, thank you guys for being here. 32 people. This 2 hours into it is hella progress. So, I appreciate that. What do I usually say? Yeah, so I didn't go live, I think like last week or maybe the last 2 weeks, but it's been chaotic. I've been moving around. I've been trying to make sure the classes work the way they're supposed to. But things are stable, so we're stabilizing, so we're going back to normal. My next video is going to be on ritual, on the concept of rituals, right? So I'm working on that right now. But, you know, as always, the best way to support the channel is joining the Patreon community, patreon.com/The Medicine Show. So patrons have access to my Odinala library, my library. It's got tons of books. It's got articles. Somebody recently sent me the PDFs for After God is Dibia. But I actually want to ask the family if it's okay to put it on there before I do it. So those of you, the prayer warriors in the group, pray that it's approved so I can make that available on the library. But otherwise, we have books that say just about the same thing, sometimes even more in there. And then you also get access to the calendar, the Odenala calendar that links to your Google. It has the 4 market days, so it tells you which market day you're currently in. And then it also tells you what moon you're currently in, and then what observances are acknowledged in those times. Hey, Nandi. What observances are acknowledged in those times and that kind of thing. So you can just follow the ancestral way of orienting your year. And then, of course, at the highest tier, you get full access to the traditional medicine class and the Igbo language classes at www.kedu.me. If you are interested in learning traditional medicine and Dibia-hood, how that whole thing works, how you can begin your Dibia process, sign up at www.kedu.me. The next class is in July. Don't quote me on that. I'm not good with numbers and times. But the next class is July, begins in July. We've already started the first class. It's been a blast being a part of that. It is taught by Dibia Uzochukwu, our in-house Dibia for Patreon. If you also want readings and things like that, that's available on Patreon too. Like a one-on-one consultation with the Dibia. And then, yeah, that being said, you guys have done a phenomenal job supporting the channel and keeping this community strong. We are the village, and this village continues to grow. So that being said, unogade, unogeto. Nke ọbụla unu tiri aka ọ ga-adị n'ụwa, ọ ga-adị otu a na eke n'orie n'afọ na nkwọ. Yes, you got it. Ise. All right, ka m hapụ ụnụ. Now he's waving goodbye.